May of 2020, Greg Fineman, a Los Animas County sheriff, was called out to the Tom Miller Ranch who wanted to report the death of some cattle. In this next interview, Deep Spinach asks, who killed the cow?
My name is Greg Fineman. I'm lead investigator of uorinvestigations, paranormal. And I've been investigating the phenomenon of the cattle mutilations that have occurred in this county, Los Animas County, Colorado. My background, I was a paramedic for nearly 30 years, but 15 years into it, I became a police officer, law enforcement officer, also a deputy coroner, and I was employed with the Los Animas County Sheriff's Department for several years. And in that time frame, I had been dispatched, or actually called out anyways, to these this phenomenon, to these cattle mutilations.
Supervisor acknowledge that I have a case report with an arrest attached.
1830. I was called out to several of them anyways. I would say at least 6. When I first started going out, the very first time I went on one, I'll be honest with you, I thought I was just going on a dead cow, until I got out there. And I saw what I saw. There was just things that were so unexplainable, like how in the heck did it get where it was at? There was no evidence of any impressions, even its own, around it. There was no blood associated with it. But we couldn't really investigate it the way it should have been investigated. Just our, the Sheriff's Department at the time were just low funded, and they basically just go out, they do the best they can. They go out, they get owner information and do up a report, but no follow-up. One of the things that I wanted to do that was different than anybody else, I wasn't as much as interested in investigating the cow, the bovine, the dead bovine. I mean, I was, but I was really more interested in seeing if we can communicate with the ones responsible, if that's possible. What stands out is the fact that the location of the cow, where the location of the cow is, there's absolutely no prints, shoe impressions, foot impressions, prints from the cow, prints from anything. And there isn't one drop of blood, even around the location at all. I was a paramedic for 30 years, and people cut their arm and, hit an artery or something just on their arm. And man, it looked like an axe murder happened. All right. And these cows are completely incised up, opened up, and not one drop of blood in that cow or around it at all.
After Greg was called to investigate the initial mutilation report, he experienced some health issues that caused him to leave the force. Upon his return to Colorado, after having taken time off work in order to heal, he returned to Los Animas and was still intrigued with the unexplained cow mutilations. Greg decided to begin his own investigation at the Tom Miller Ranch.
So I had to get permission, to get on the ranch, and I got that. And I asked the rancher if he could take me to the site where one had happened, and he said, well, I could take you where the bones are still at one. And I said, okay, well, let's go. And he took me to it, get down to where the bones were, and he points in a westerly direction, and about 60 yards away, he says that's where the cow was actually found.
After seeing the extent of cattle lost on this ranch, Greg decided to bring a local psychic on board to assist him in trying to uncover more clues to an already puzzling phenomena.
We take her out to that site, that location, and she was standing, we went down to where the bones were, and she was kind of facing the opposite direction that the cow was actually found, but she had reached down and picked up a bone. And she asked first, can I pick up this bone? He's like, yeah, sure. So she picks it up, and man, her voice started quivering. Total physiological changes on her body. I mean, she just had goosebumps, like super huge goosebumps. Her hair was standing straight up on her arm. And she turns around to the opposite direction, starts pointing in the direction where that cow was found, and says, it was a craft that comes in looking like a low-lying cloud about 30 feet off the ground. The beam of light goes out. It's a quick search on the ground until it finds its target, and then it fully encompasses the cow. And then when that light does that, in a blink of an eye, faster than you can bat an eye, the cow's gone, the ship's gone, everything's gone. Said the second the bovine is on board, the blood is immediately evacuated from the body. When they're done with it, they leave it, but they don't leave it nicely. He said they're making life with that blood. That was the first reading. One of the little known facts on these cattle mutilate, or these, I call them UBDs, unusual bovine deaths, instead of cattle mutilation. But these UBDs, they have, a lot of times their back is broken, their legs are broken, all their ribs and all that is because they're dropped, anywhere from 30 to 90 feet. When I started the investigation, it was in May of 2020. I photographed all the cows I could photograph at the time. And the very next day, I went to get the rest of the cows photographed, and he had released them into a part of the property I couldn't get to. And they were going to be there for several months. And it was just miscommunication on my part as far as me needing more photos. I thought I got them all that first day, but it's not easy to get cows on photograph and think you got. What I ended up doing is getting the same cow several times, just be by myself making these photos and everything. So long story short is they sent them to a part of the property I couldn't get to. And I decided to go in the location of where all those traffic accidents were. And off of the highway on that part of the property while we were, waiting for the cows and just seeing what we were going to get.
After Greg's initial discovery process with psychic Mama Sue, she informed him of some startling information.
In the very beginning, before we had actually made contact, Mama Sue, she tells me that, the ones responsible for these cattle mutilations, they're well aware of you and your little investigation into the cattle mutilation. So you feel like you're being watched, it's because you are.
Greg continued to work with Mama Sue, moving forward with the assumption that the cow mutilations were the result of UFO phenomena. He decided more concrete evidence was needed. During another evening of investigation on a different ranch in Los Animas area, Greg asked a friend from out of state to join him and Mama Sue to be a third witness to the communications between themselves and the entities Greg believes are responsible for the violent deaths of the Los Animas cows.
I had a person with me that is part of this, but he lives in Oregon, and he was here helping me with a part of this investigation. And while he was here the very first night, he's a skeptic, so when we went out there to communicate and talk, we have an EMF meter that, verifies that we're talking to somebody. And so he was holding it, and bottom line, it was going off. He wasn't moving it left, right, up, or down, but he was very convinced of what I was in, of my investigation, my findings. November 2nd of 2020, the rancher reported a UBD to me. He said that it was pretty old, but, I just wanted to let you know. I said, I'll be there in 3 seconds. Don't worry about it. I'll be there in 3. So I get out there, and this cow had all it was left was the hide and the skeleton. That was it. Let me tell you, I went out there thinking, there's a million ways a cow can die on a ranch. Right? Doesn't mean it's UBD every single time. It's going to have to really, jump out to me something. So I get out there, and as I walk up, there's this huge pattern missing off of the back, the top of the cow, but its back, huge U-shaped pattern that took up all that hide was gone. And the rancher started pointing out all the similarities to what one of his UBDs, an actual one, was. And he was pointing at the hole in the left chest and a certain part of the face. It's missing its, missing its skin. The ears are incised off, with precision. And it was something to see. December 22nd of 2021, I believe. Yeah, 2021. Another one was reported to me on another ranch. But this one was different. This one had a lot of blood left. I'll make it short by saying there's no way humans could have done this. Not, first of all, because of the location, they had been seen right away. And what was done to the cow looked like part of it was done while the cow was still alive. Yeah, I've already seen what happens to the bovine after they've been killed. I wasn't as much as interested in, I was, but not as much interested in investigating the dead bovine as I was trying to find out who is doing this. I contacted vets because I want an on-scene autopsy done. And a lot of people just don't want to get involved. They're afraid. I've tried to get a hold of, I haven't tried to get a hold of astronomers, but I've tried to get a hold of several specialists. I have got in contact with Linda Moulton Howe regarding my investigation. She is one of the leading ufologists, of the world, and she's done 40 years of investigation. She's done a lot of investigation, but the information we have was given to us. All right, and I wanted her part of it, and she would have liked to have come down, but COVID-19 killed that, and so she, never did come down.
After months that turned into years of tirelessly working to find concrete evidence to present to the world that we're being visited, Greg admits to the most challenging part of all of this.
Financially, this investigation is very hard for me to continue. Every time I go out, it costs me. I got this huge investigation with huge findings, all right, that affects all of us, and I can't get anyone to help me. They're either afraid or they just don't want to be involved because of the effort it takes to go out. Everyone's interested, but when you say, hey, you want to go out with me? No. Everyone's, so I've done my, due diligence as trying to find other people to help me, other investigators, other, physicists. It's just not that easy getting anyone to even, believe what I'm doing. Like that even, a lot of people don't even think that cattle mutilations even exist.
Since then, the unnamed ranch, where most of the livestock were killed, Greg and the film crew he's been working with in recent months, filming a documentary that will be coming out later this year in 2023, renamed the Tom Miller Ranch Mutilation Ranch. In recent months since this interview was recorded, there has been a lot more activity on Mutilation Ranch, and other investigators have reached out to Greg. and all the findings Greg has uncovered and documented, from the placement and lack of blood where the cows were found dead to the form and detailed descriptions of markings on the cows. One of the most interesting findings I heard Greg speak of was the correlation between the numbers of cows killed to the number of fatal car accidents that occurred on the mile-long stretch of highway that runs directly through the center of Mutilation Ranch. To this day, Greg continues to investigate and work with Mama Sue to uncover the truth and provide solid evidence of his findings. With limited funds and resources, he needs the assistance of others to help him in his research. And one other interesting note before we end this episode is Greg's mention that the location of these happenings is directly in line with the 37th parallel, a ley line that is exactly equivalent to the Alien Highway in New Mexico.
If you would like to donate to or reach out to Greg, you may contact him at uorinvestigations@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to see the episode on Travel Channel's UFO Witness, where Greg was featured on Gray Alien Human Hybridization, please check out Season 2, Episode 5 of UFO Witness on travelchannel.com. We'll include this info and a link to Greg's YouTube channel and the UFO Witness episode in the show notes. Thank you again for joining us on Deep Spinach. Remember to always keep digging deeper. This is Jason and Ariel, out. Javi Media.